morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We're going to be talking about the Thursday night football game. We're going to talk about our must-watch college football games of this weekend, and we're also going to talk about some of our gambling of what we're thinking. Before we get too far, though, let me bring on my co-host, Mr. Tim Cook. How you doing today?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm excited about the Saturday action. A lot of good games, a lot of top 20 games, and it should be interesting.
Yeah, we're now starting conference games. So you're going to see like one of our must games is going to be Georgia versus Alabama. We got Illinois and Penn State. We got some inter-conference play now. And this is what it was all about. Once the conferences got shaked out the way they did at the end of last year, it was like, okay, this is what we're looking for. And now we're here. So we got a lot of great must-watch games coming up. Before we, though, talk about college football, let's talk about that Thursday night football. So we had the Giants versus the Cowboys. The Giants come off of a surprising win. The Cowboys have this disappointing start of the season, and it looked at the Cowboys said, hey, we're going to come out to play. But they're still not there yet. What do you think about that game?
I thought it was. I'll tell you what. If they don't kick 5 field goals, the Giants, and score 1, maybe 2 touchdowns, the Cowboys are 1-3. I mean, that's not good. I still think they're just not there yet. Their running attack is not there, which would open up their passing. I mean, he's just throwing. Last night it was mostly CD Lamb. And I mean, the one touchdown that CD scored, I think in the second quarter. I mean, that secondary of the Giants is not good at all. I mean, it's not good. And Daniel Jones just can't throw the ball down the field. I mean, his throws were 20. He can't throw the ball more than 20, 30 yards. He can't even throw a 40-yard out pass. I mean, if you can't do that, all they're going to do, the defense, uh, they give the blueprint for the defenses for the rest of the year that put 8 men in a box and see if you can throw the ball down the field because we're going to let you try to beat us down the field.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think with the Cowboys side, the defense did play a little bit better this week. I think that now you see that Parsons went out at the end of the game. Like, you don't love that. You don't see, they're saying it's an ankle injury. But from the Giants side, yeah, the problem is Daniel Jones. And I think you're getting your answer of what you need to do to become a competitive team. And you need a new quarterback. You just have to, because Neighbors is crazy good. Crazy good. I think it would be crazy to see what he would be like with a decent quarterback. But these balls being underthrown and just behind the receivers, and they're trying to make plays. It's you can't get any momentum going.
Oh, most definitely. And that Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, is going to be a stud for them too. I think he'll be a number 2 or a number 3 wide receiver for him. But they just can't get the ball down the field, and they have no running attack. I mean, Devin Secretary can only do so much. I mean, they just don't have, and their secondary just got lit up last night. CD was just lighting them up. I mean, there was that one on that second. I mean, the guy, the safety just stopped running. It was at the 10-yard line. I'm like, you can still keep running, and he's just like, why? He's going to score. I mean, it just was, but still, it's the idea that. And didn't Parsons go out because of a concussion before the ankle injury?
No, I think it was. I don't remember him going out with concussion. I just remember he got rolled up on, and then he came back, and then it happened again, and then they were like, "Sit down, like just stop." Like, because
Well, didn't the referee pull him off the field?
yes, yeah,
Yes, that's what I thought.
ultimately,
Because they commented on the game that somebody seen something upstairs and said, "Hey, you got to get." I mean, that Cowboys defense is already not very good. You lose Michael Parsons, ooh, that is not going to be good for the Cowboys.
yeah. And I mean, when you look at Malik Neighbors had 115 receiving yards. I mean, they threw the ball 40 times. The Giants did. I mean, but Devin Singletary has 24 yards of rushing. That just
Ooh,
ain't cut it. I mean, that's not
no,
good. But when you look on the Dallas side, their highest rusher had 46. It
yeah,
wasn't a crazy running game. And
no.
Dak Prescott nearly goes perfect, 22 for 27 for 221 yards. Has a great, but I mean, a lot of them go to either Jake Ferguson or CD Lamb. And it was like, why are we not doubling CD Lamb? I mean, I was saying that last night because the guy I'm going against in fantasy this week had Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. So I'm, after Thursday night, pretty much guaranteed I'm going to lose this week. But it was like one of these situations where Dallas came out the second half and played like a different type of D and only allowed 6 points, but you got to score. But the real big controversy that a lot of people are talking about after this game was the refereeing, because they felt that some of these calls, I mean, they were like, oh, it's going the Cowboys' way. And then the game went on and they were like, that was just a bad refereeing game. I mean, the first touchdown the Cowboys score, they throw a flag. They were going to say it was holding, and then they call it.
Or was it block in the back? I thought it was a block in the back.
It was a lineman that came out and grabbed the
guy,
and they were going to call holding, and they were like, no, came back on.
Yeah, they picked up the flag. I seen that.
And that was awful. But the thing that everyone's talking about today is the field goal by Aubrey at the end, missing it with 28 seconds to go. Now, if you were gambling on that game and you were betting for the Giants, you came out pretty but if you were betting for the Dallas Cowboys, you are pissed off because it was a 5.5 line on game start, and they won by 5. But that field goal should have put them up 8. And Aubrey hasn't missed a field goal yet this year.
He made a 60-yarder in the game.
Yep. So a lot of people have been talking about that, but I definitely think the refereeing was bad. I mean, it was just, you can't have that. It's definitely with primetime games. If it's on a Sunday and there's some bad refereeing, we're going to hear about it on a Monday, maybe. But on Thursday night, when you see it and we're all trying to turn on for it, and you're like, oh, so that's what happened. Okay, yeah, no, we're all going to talk about it on a Friday. So I just think that's got to be stepped up. I mean, it's hard for me to be like, oh, the referee's got to be better when I don't do it. But you're in the NFL. I mean, and that could be a whole other discussion about how the refereeing should be done. But one thing I do want to say, though, is do you know who's in the lead right now for the NFC East?
Would it be? No, I was going to say the command. It has to be Philadelphia.
It's a tie between the Commanders and the Eagles.
Yeah.
And that right there is crazy in my mind with the Commanders. But with the Eagles, so now with the Cowboys taking a step back, the Giants will not be good this year. If the Commanders could kind of keep this up, they could possibly win this division with a rookie quarterback. I would say keep an eye out on that. Like, I thought it was going to be a fight between Dallas and Philadelphia this year, but it looks like Dallas is just going to be mediocre. They're going to win some, lose some, lose the games that they're supposed to win, and probably win the games that they're not supposed to win. But, like, watch out for Washington, because if they keep in this running right here, they could give Philadelphia a run for their money.
Yeah, I mean, and they've got an OC and Cliff Kingsbury that's going to put the players right now, as of right now, he's putting the players in the right position with Jaden Daniels and all the other players on the offense. So if he can keep it up, I can see them playing meaningful football in November and December. I really could.
And that would be a crazy comeback, because everyone's been saying, well, Lane or his coaching or his play calls are just simple. Yeah, well, the punter hasn't came out for 2 games. So simple might be okay, because if your punter ain't coming out. But let's talk some college football. We got a huge Saturday of college football coming up. We got the first must-watch game is number 15 Louisville versus number 16 Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Now, this is a question of, can Notre Dame play up to the potential, or will this be a letdown game and Louisville routes them? What do you think about this game?
These two teams played last year, and Louisville just destroyed Notre Dame 33-20 at Louisville. Notre Dame's going to have to get the run game going with Leonard and Jeremiah Love. Louisville will counter with Tyler Show, which has been, I think he might be in his 6th or 7th year in the NCAA, and Jacoby Brooks transferred from Alabama. Notre Dame's going to have to lean on that defense. They've held opponents. Both teams have good defenses, and they've held their opponents to 20 points or less all year. Notre Dame's going to have Jack Kaiser and Xavier Watts. Louisville has not, so this could be the weather, I think, also is going to be a factor. The remnants of Hurricane Helene could determine this game a lot. If Notre Dame wins, you're still talking about the playoffs. If they lose, Probably playing in a Sun Bowl like we did last year.
I totally agree. I think Notre Dame's got to make a statement. This is Freeman's statement game. He's got to make a statement in this game. If he doesn't, I think this is another blunder on his record. Even though it's a ranked team, this just isn't a team that we should be getting beat at home. This is a thing where Notre Dame is at home. You should win this game, no matter what the ranking is. It's not an Alabama. It's not a Georgia. It's not an Ohio State. It's a Louisville. It's a great Louisville, or a good Louisville team. Now, I don't know what Louisville team this is yet. And why I say that is because the first 3 games, they haven't really played anyone. They haven't really done, I mean, they're putting up 47.3 points per game right now. But what defense have they faced that's going to be like the Notre Dame's defense? Notre Dame's defense is what's held them into games. I think whoever comes out to the start and takes the lead is going to be the team that's going to win it at the end. Because I believe with the Notre Dame's passing game, as bad as it is right now, they have to run the ball. Like you said, the weather might play a little bit into this, where that might actually work on Notre Dame's side. But like, if Notre Dame doesn't come off, if they come out and score, okay, but they got to keep that momentum. They come out these first 10 plays like like they had them scripted, just like practice all week. But it seems like that's the only plays they practice, because after that first drive, they just stutter and they just keep getting 3 and outs and 3 and outs. Notre Dame's going to have to come out fast and put it on them. I want to see Freeman put up. This is a 24-0. This is a 35-7 win. This is where if Notre Dame wants to actually be considered in the playoffs, they're going to have to pull away and win by big. I just don't know if they will.
And also I think one of their key wide receivers for Louisville is out. I think he got hurt last week. So I don't think if I can't remember what the kid's name is, but he's not going to play neither. So it's just that here we go. Also, this game is on Peacock. If anybody's going to want to watch, it is just a Peacock solo. It's not NBC. It's just solely on Peacock. So if you tried to watch it, Notre Dame fans, it will be just a Peacock solo.
Yeah, that's interesting, and we've seen that a couple of times with Notre Dame already so far doing that. But I mean, for me personally, that's not as one of these people that has all of the services. Wherever Notre Dame's playing, I'm going to turn it on some way. But I definitely think it's going to be a great game. I don't know if it's the game of the week, because the next game, I believe, is the game of the week. College Game Day is going to be there. Georgia versus Alabama. Number 2 Georgia versus number 4 Alabama. This game will put the dominance in the SEC outside of Texas. Now, what do you think about this game?
I'll tell you what, Anthony, get your popcorn and your adult beverages ready. I'm excited about this game. I mean, I think this is going to be a classic. You got Jalen Milroe and company going against that stingy Georgia defense, and you got Carson Beck. Their times have struggled this year. I mean, Kentucky's got a decent defense, but not nothing like what they're going to go against this weekend in Alabama. Georgia be without their star wideout London Humphrey because of mono, and both teams are coming off bye, so they should be well rested. The X factor, I think, is going to be Kirby Smart. Kirby's been into this kind of in the trenches. Caleb DeBoer has, but this is the Pac-12 and the SEC, totally different kinds of ball games. This is DeBoer's first cup of coffee here at the SEC. This is going to be. We'll see how good of a coach he really is.
Yeah, this is something big for him, because I mean, I know he's at Washington, he's been in a couple schools before, but nothing like this. I mean, this is even College Game Day being there, and just the recognition of this is the game. Now, this game is early. This is usually a later in the year or an SEC championship type of game, but we're getting it earlier now due to the conferences the way it is. I totally agree with you. I think this game is going to be high flying. It's going to be hard hitting. And my biggest thing is the best defense that day is going to win the game. The best defense. I don't care what offense comes out from Alabama. What offense? I mean, they got the 17-year-old kid for Alabama. You got Carson Beck and their offensive line over in Georgia. I don't care. If whatever team has the better defense that game is going to win. And the why I say that is because the number 1 passing defense is Georgia. Well, that's okay, because Jalen Milroe, he'll run the ball, and he's fast, in case Wisconsin people didn't realize that after seeing that a couple weeks ago. But both of them coming off buys is definitely interesting. It was like as if when they were setting up the schedules, they were like, oh, you want us to play this early in the year? Okay, throw that bye early so that we're ready for this game. But I think this is a statement game for Alabama. This is your post Nick Saban era, because it's funny. There's times where stats get brought up and they're like, "Oh, this team beat Alabama," and it was like pre Nick Saban. Well, can you give a big win post Nick Saban? For Georgia, this is where you guys last year SEC championship. You guys didn't make it to the playoffs. I still think they were the best team last year, but they lose that SEC championship, and it caused them not to get into the playoffs and possibly not on a potential of a national championship. So now you got to prove it. You're going to be in Alabama hostile environment. Prove it. Prove that you guys are number one. Show that you guys can compete with Texas, because I'll tell you right now, if Georgia loses this game or if it's a close one, I think Texas is in a whole league of their own right now.
I agree. I think the winner here is in the driver's seat. I don't know if either one of these teams play Texas this year, but I think the winner of this goes a long ways towards the SEC championship by far.
Oh, I definitely agree, and I think with this, the way the line is right now too has been for betting, and we'll talk about that one later because I think one of us might have it in there. But like for the Georgia Alabama, I mean, I think they're expecting a tight game going into the end. One thing I have heard from people talking about this game though is Alabama has a huge stadium, huge, and it's multiple levels and it's like multiple parts of a building, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of built off of the actual area. And a lot of people that have said there is it's loud there, but it isn't loud there. So we'll kind of see how that affects it as well. It's a night game. When I think of night games, I always think of, for me personally, it's just the Auburn returning that kick. I know it was at Auburn, but like that kick was like a night game where it was like, okay, Alabama's going to win this one. And it was close all night, and then Auburn pulled it off. This is a type of game where Georgia, like if they can keep it close, I think they're they're more experienced, and I feel like they can pull it out at the end. But you got to stop Jalen, and you got to stop that 17-year-old kid. The kid's supposed to be going to prom and doing it, having a homecoming and stuff like this. I mean, he can't even go and get himself a can of dip. So like at the same time, well, maybe in Alabama, who knows what their laws are, but like he can't even do stuff because of how young he is. You got to stop him. But he's a grown man, so good luck with that. That moves us to the another night game. This one's an interesting one, definitely for some of us locals here. Number 19 Illinois versus number 9 Penn State. Illinois has beaten 2 ranked teams this year and comes off a big win versus Nebraska. Penn State, what Penn State team are we getting? What do you think about this game?
I like this game. I'm excited just for the simple fact that it's an area team that's going to Happy Valley. Illinois is coming off that big win Friday night, but at the press conference, Franklin was wearing a white hoodie, and he strongly suggested that to the fans to look in their closets, see if you can pull anything out white. This is not technically a whiteout game. I did see where they have to just before the season starts, the university determines one whiteout game a year. This year it's going to be in November against Washington. So he made that comment. All of his coaches were wearing white hoodies at the press conference, and he has strongly requested that all fans come in with a white hoodie. So it's not technically a whiteout game, but it's going to be pretty close. Last week, Illinois won in overtime against Nebraska, and Penn State's coming off that 56-0 drubbing of Kent State. Illinois on offense will use the balanced offensive attack of QB Luke Altmaier, Pat Bryant, and Zeke Franklin. He's had 10 touchdowns this year so far. Altmaier against 0 interception, 7% percent of passes have been completed. That's very good. Illinois' defense is ranked 33rd in the country in total defense. The last time they played each other, get this, was in Happy Valley. They played at a record a 9 overtime game. with Illinois coming out on top. Last year they played, and then the Lions got their revenge and beat them 30-13. It will come down between Illinois' defense, I think, against Drew Allmeyer and company. That offense has to eat up. The Illinois offense is going to have to eat up clock and not go 3-and-outs, and that defense will be gassed by the third quarter if that's happening. So they've got to run the ball and keep that defense fresh. If they can, I think they got a shot. This is a big point spread. I think they got a shot at this.
Yeah, I think Illinois' biggest thing is the time possession. They got to have the ball. They got to hold on to it and make sure they control the type of environment. You're going to have to outlast the crowd, though, because I did see the whiteout, and this is an unofficial whiteout game. I don't care. They've been beaten in whiteout games. Don't give me that stuff. My biggest thing with this one is Illinois has to play their game. You kind of saw that in Nebraska. They started playing a little bit out of the game, and it was a 3-and-out. And it was stop trying to play the other team's game. But it's funny that when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, I told myself, you know what, I'm done being a Notre Dame fan. I'm going to be a U of I fan. Well, hell, they've been pretty good since. So I like this game. I like Illinois going to Penn State. I think the way they play their game of controlling the game by running the ball, I think they can pull an upset here. I don't know if they're going to, though. This Penn State team's pretty good this year. Their biggest question mark, though, is that wide receiver. They need a standout. They need one person to step up this year at that because a quarterback can sling the ball. We've seen that earlier in this year so far. He can sling the ball. So can they do that? I did see that Penn State is also honoring a team for this game. So that's something, too, that kind of gives a little bit because usually when they honor a past team that either won or stuff like that, they're there all the week or they're there on the day of the game and stuff like that, doing like luncheons and stuff. That stuff usually motivates a lot of players, so that probably doesn't help Illinois in this situation. But at the same time, these always can be distractions. I think even with the whole talks of a whiteout game, it's a possible distraction. Just focus on your game. I like Illinois. I think this is a great little challenge for them. I also did notice that there's possibly a couple freshmen playing for Penn State at linebacker and at corner as the starters are questionable. That could be a big one, too. Young people coming in, we'll see what they can do at this game. But definitely exciting though.
Yeah, most definitely. And another thing too is really Penn State hasn't really played anybody this year so far. So this is going to be their true test, their first true test of the season. And Illinois has played two. I mean, this is their third straight week of top competition, top 20 teams that they're going to play. I mean, they beat Kansas at home. They beat Nebraska on the road on a Friday night, and then they're going to have to go. This Penn State team is probably pretty good. Is good. I mean, they haven't played anybody, but 3 weeks in a row playing top 20. I mean, this is a top 10 team. This could make it. I mean, this could be an issue as well.
Totally agree, and we'll have to see it on. But the Notre Dame game's an afternoon game, but otherwise the Georgia and Alabama are night games. There's some other college games, so we won't talk too much about them. But number 20 Oklahoma State versus number 23 Kansas State, both are coming off of a loss. It'd be nice to see what these teams and how they react after these big losses. I still think they're in the spotlight to possibly give a Big 12 challenge. Who loses this game, unfortunately, I think is not in consideration anymore. They'll obviously probably drop out of the top 25 as one's 20 and one's 23. But can Avery Johnson for Kansas State step back up in that game? What do you think about that one as well?
Yeah, I mean, this is which team can rebound. I mean, both teams did not play very well last week. I mean, that Bowman for Oklahoma State, can he rebound? I mean, they took him out and then they brought him back in and then he kind of responded. And Avery Johnson, he didn't. I mean, he just was shell shocked. That team just got spanked. I mean, they got railroad. I mean, they took him to the woodshed on that one.
Yeah, and another game too is Washington State. They're perfect so far going against Boise State, number 25 Boise State. That should be a good game as well. Big college packed football on Saturday, so definitely make sure to get your games in. Sit down, watch the games, enjoy them. Get multiple TVs if you can. But let's talk about our gambling. Start me off with your first bet.
Kentucky versus Ole Miss. Kentucky shows up the team that almost – which Kentucky team shows up for this one? The one that almost beat Georgia or the team that couldn't even get past South Carolina. Come on. They almost, then you got Ole Miss that has steamrolled everybody so far this year. Kentucky's run defense has been terrific so far, and Ole Miss against the slashing running attack that's averaging 219 yards a game. Ole Miss's defense hasn't played anybody. Can Kentucky show up against the high power offense? The forecast is calling for some rain and wind, so I think you're going to get some of the remnants of this hurricane, which could slow down the Ole Miss offense. But I think the Ole Miss offense with Jackson Dart and company, they're just going to be too much. And give me Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. And what's the point spread on that one?
17.5.
17.5.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, you're hoping that they're not going to be Kentucky against Georgia. I mean, I went with Ole Miss last week, and it went pretty solid. I think they're a good team. I know they haven't played anyone yet, but I still think they have it. I just don't know if they'll perform when the bright lights are on of another ranked team. I think they'll handle Kentucky with this one, though. For me, my first bet, I'm looking at Wisconsin versus USC. For this game, USC is coming off their loss to Michigan. Wisconsin's kind of having an up or down, not a great season. For me, I just think this is another USC is going to get back to the run game. They're going to have to deal with the run game of Wisconsin. I like the under in this game, under 51.5. I just don't see USC coming out doing what they did. I think there's a playbook now, to a blueprint to them of the pressure to get to the quarterback after what we saw with Michigan last week. I don't know if they're going to be that high-flying team that we saw in the first couple weeks of this year. So I took the 51.5 under of this game.
Okay, I like this game as well. Wisconsin begins their Big Ten schedule on the road against USC, and USC's just coming off a heartbreaking loss to Michigan. I mean, they had it right then, last week. Wisconsin's coming off a bye after getting drubbed at home by Alabama. Wisconsin starting up Brandon Locke, and they're going to see the Wisconsin coach has some easy plays for him to see if they can get his feet wet, and handle, and he's going to also handle the ball off to his running back Chase Malusia is what I'm trying to say. USC will counter with Miller, Moss, and company. Can U.S. defense shut down that Wisconsin running attack? Will USC have a letdown game after playing a tough Michigan game? The point spread has jumped around from 16 to 14.5, but I don't think that's going to matter. I think USC runs away with this. Give me USC in the, I think, is it 14.5 or 15.5?
I think I saw earlier at 14.5. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Definitely around game time for that one.
Yeah.
So for my second game, now this one, I would do Illinois versus Penn State. Now I will this is like a bonus one. So, but first is going to be Oklahoma versus Auburn. It's a -1 spread right now. Oklahoma having that Tennessee loss last week, but they switched quarterbacks and they started getting momentum with that second quarterback. He is starting this week, so he's got a whole week of practice. Auburn hasn't had a great year. They got beat up by Arkansas. I don't really see where people are thinking this is an even point spread, even at Auburn. I just don't see it. So for me, I'm taking Oklahoma money line on this one. I think that defense of Oklahoma is still healthy, so they're going to shut down the Auburn's offense. And that new quarterback with that running style that he had, I think there's going to be some big plays. I think I take Oklahoma winning this one.
Wow. I think Oklahoma does bounce back. Auburn is not very good. I don't, the coach, the players. I mean, this coach has not got this players ready to go. I mean, they're talking about maybe he's on the hot seat as well, So, and I think Oklahoma after that last week against Tennessee, I think they're going to definitely bounce back.
Yes. What do you got for your third bet?
Georgia, Alabama. We've already kind of discussed this already. Like I said before, I really went back and forth on who to take. These are both good teams. Can Milroe rip the ball down the field? He's going to have to, like he did against Wisconsin. He's got to. And can Cale DeBoer get him a game plan that will accomplish that? Both teams have got great defenses. Can Georgia weather the storm against Bryant-Denny Stadium? That is going to be a key too. Can they keep the crowd in check for a while? I'm excited about this game. It's going to be a good one. I mean, I think it could go down as a classic. The spread is. I'm going to take the money line on the. Give me the dogs and the money line.
Georgia -1 is the point spread, so you're taking money line on that one. You might as well. It's going to be the same with that one. I agree. You got to bet this game. It's just the game of the weekend. You got to bet it. I kind of went back and forth as well. I think this post Nick Saban era is just not yet going to be where people are going to remember yet. So I took Georgia as well in this. I just feel like the way Georgia is stacked on team. And here's another thing too, that Kentucky close law or Kentucky, when Kentucky played them close and they won, that can give a team momentum. That can let them know right off the bat that, hey, you guys are touchable. You're not untouchable. And I think that's how they're going to have to look into it going into this week. When Nick Saban was the coach, I said you couldn't bet against Nick Saban. When you look now, I think you got to say you can't bet against Kirby. You just can't bet against him. Now, you better prove me damn right after saying this, but Kirby, you got to bet with him. I want to give a bonus bet, though. If you're in Illinois and you're looking at betting, you can't bet on the apps with Illinois if you live in Illinois. But you can go to casinos and sports books and bet on them. I'm going to run down the street to Waukegan's casino, and I'm putting a bet on the Illinois versus Penn State. I'm taking the under 47.5. I like even Illinois it's 8. I think it was 19.5 the last I saw the spread. I just do not see Penn State putting a beating on them that bad. It's just there's not enough high-flying plays for Penn State to win by that much, I feel like. And Illinois runs the ball, so I think they're going to chew up the clock. I like that one, but you got to go to a casino if you're going to bet on it, if you live in Illinois. So just a reminder, that's why I didn't put it as one of my bets, because you do have to do that. You cannot just bet on the app. But I think we got some solid bets this week. I think with the college football games, it's all day. I mean, you've got some good games at 11. You're going to have some good afternoon games. And then the night games are definitely going to put us in a great mood because you got the Illinois Penn State. You got the Georgia Alabama. That one's got to be on the main screen. It's a primetime game. And just even college game day is going to be fun there tomorrow because there's something about SEC football. We all live in Big Ten. A lot of the listeners live in the Big Ten arena area. But something about that SEC football just feels different. And you got two Titans going at it. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that this is only going to get better. It's only going to get better because then the Big Ten is going to start having some of their better games. Ohio State, Oregon, USC and Ohio State, and you have Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, I think this college football season is going to be really good with a lot of good games, more than just one. And not one every 2 or 3 weeks. Every week going forward is good. There's going to be a marquee game.
Totally agree. Well, so this is our Saturday podcast. If you like it, comment, share, post it. If you have any questions or think there's things that we didn't talk about, please comment on the post. We'll try to answer it. We'll be back on Sunday for a Sunday of the NFL. Some great games coming up on Sunday. It looks like possibly Jordan Love's going to be playing, so that might be a game we talk about with the Packers versus the Vikings. But everyone have a great Saturday. If you do gamble, please bet responsibly. We're just two goons talking sports. Have a great day.